lead off with anybody in the audience? Commissioners, anything to bring up?
I have one question for Sam on, I noticed they're sealing cracks again, and did we ever transfer that frontage road in front of Clarion over?
Yeah.
So we're still sealing the streets out there, I noticed.
I saw that this morning too.
But is that, I heard through the grapevine that he was never notified, but that we had passed it, so we might want to follow up on that. I don't think he understands or doesn't know that we passed that,
Okay.
that he could get it, but
We can make contact with him.
yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. But I just happened to see that today, and I was wondering why we were sealing it if he's going to tear it up.
Yeah, it's still cities, so
Yeah,
it's
I
on
know.
our list to get done this year.
The other thing, I'd like to recommend that everyone pick up one of these 2017 financial profile. You can get them at the city manager's office, and there's a wealth of information in that little booklet about the city, and everyone's welcome to pick one up. I keep some at my office and pass them out to people that come in and ask about the city. So, does the chamber have these, I wonder?
Yes.
Do they? Good. Okay. That was only two things that I could think of, anyway.
And I was wondering about the plans for the widening of Kansas Avenue. What maybe it's going to look like, and landscaping, if they have any
Yeah, and I'm
figured
gonna,
out.
yeah, and thanks for giving us a heads up so that we could show some visuals and maybe get some of that on Channel 8 too for folks watching. I'm gonna have Sam Curran and Andy Liebelt come up, and we'll call up some pictures and a quick run through. The short answer to your question, Janet, is I remember you asking it was, are there plans for landscaping with the property that was acquired for the widening of Kansas Avenue? The property was acquired for the widening of the road, understanding that when we took that there was going to be sort of a lot of leftover, but they don't let you just buy half a house. So we had to, there were 3 properties that we identified it was in the interest of the city to acquire right-of-way acquisition. And so I think we have a general idea of the property that might be used for pedestrian way / green space, and that which may have some other beneficial use either for redevelopment or to the adjacent property owner. So our drawing is limited to that. Doesn't get into detail on what would we do if we landscaped, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll call it up and these guys can talk about it. That's not the right password.
And,
You want to do it?
Okay, commercial. I guess wrong.
Sorry.
And do I need to zoom that for everybody or a
Yeah, a
little?
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Whoa.
see, let's identify some buildings so people.
This is La Estrella, used to be Taco John's back in the day. It was probably 8 other things too, but that's what I remember it as. This is Rups 66, and I don't know that folks at home can see that, but those in the audience can see the cursor circling that. This right here is now a vacant space. It was apartments on the north side of the road. There were 2 houses acquired through right-of-way acquisition on the south side of Kansas Avenue. One of those is for sure down, and the second one by today, is it down?
Yeah, it's got about a third of it down.
Yeah. And then this property right here is now Saigon's Corner, and there's a restaurant, and a few other things. So pizza, and off the picture to the left, as you're viewing it, would be Long John Silver's. Long John Silver's Pizza Hut right here. La Estrella. The raised apartments and house, and then Rupp's 66 along the other side. So the green spaces we've, or what the picture identified as a possibility or an option, I guess concept is the word we're using, are shown there.
On the picture, when we did the project, these properties were purchased after the fact, so we really don't have any landscaping designs in the project. So when we looked at this, we think the property to the north, as a staff, felt like that was a viable option for a future business maybe, or something in there. We just threw a 20 feet in there because we're gonna need 5 for a sidewalk. Each one of the sidewalks, a 5-foot sidewalk to the north and an 8-foot sidewalk to the south. The edge of that is the new curb line.
Okay.
So that's how wide the highway's getting widened too. So we thought that would be a good thing to do on the north side. There is an alley there between those two lots. We feel if there's something in there, it would be good to vacate that. There's no utilities in that alleyway right there. We would still need the alleyway to the north of it for utilities. If we don't vacate this and we improve it, I have a feeling that it's going to be a cut through for the neighborhood to the north. So we probably ought to cut it off so that they don't do that. So that's a possibility. And that right of way actually is owned by the city. It's part of the property that we own when that was set up. The property to the south, it's still, we're asking direction from the governing body. Do you want to turn it into landscape? You can do anything you want to on that side. But we felt like if we did do a landscaping on that side, that we need probably a good 30 foot to plant fairly good sized trees so that we're not messing up sidewalks. But you can do anything you want to with these pieces of property, so.
How about a curb cut to that one on the north, if we did sell it?
Yeah.
Will the state give us a curb cut there?
Actually, one of the things discussed with the curb cut, we might try to negotiate. You'll see along that right now in those properties, which there's 4 of them there, actually was 5, will be 4. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 curb cuts, and that doesn't even count the other one
Yeah.
on Pizza. So there is a lot of egress onto Kansas Avenue. So the one thought could be is one of the 3 in the La Estrella, could that be a shared access point on the vacated right of way? But and so you could go in there almost like the Walgreens, where you can go into Walgreens, you can go into the car wash to the left. That would be a shared access point, and maybe then you could abandon one or more of the others. But that may not work just because it's an odd shaped. That's an odd shaped property next to it. We'll see.
I don't know if there's any parking along that. Do they have any parking to the east, the Mexican dude?
They just have that little strip to the east side, but it's part of their lot there. Your answer, KDOT, would probably work with us to put another access point if that had to be, but we'd sure like to maybe clean up some of the access points along there.
Yeah, those properties are adjacent to Kansas Avenue and have a right to access. There's 2 properties there, and the consolidation of that into one, it makes sense. This isn't a decision that the commission has made, or one that's entirely up up to staff, it's one the commission at some point in time will need to weigh in on, but I think the direction we're headed is bringing back for that property on the north, bringing back a plan that would lump that vacated alley right away into the other two lots and market that as one lot. Likely using the approach we used to divest of 1904 Crestway. And just because, I mean, really for no other reason than all the different strategies we've used to divest of buildings and properties, that's the only one that seemed to work very well, so. And then just see what the market has to say about its future use. And, you know, it could be that one of the adjacent properties is interested, or that someone interested in using the site for new development.
I think Lee's using it now, aren't they?
Yeah,
It's
we're
staging
Staging.
for the Kansas Avenue project.
We are losing the entrance on the south side, and I put that in because of the project. The restaurant on the south side loses their entrance that they have now because we're gonna have to move their parking lot a little bit. And then we've worked out with them to use the alleyway as their other.
Yeah.
That lines it up with the street though and makes that a lot better situation.
Yes, it does.
And that's probably why you get
It's a loss of an entrance, but it's a gain of traffic safety for
Mhm.
their customers and for anybody.
And they have the second entrance off of Fifth Street, so they're still,
Right.
That's correct.
they won't know a difference really once it's done. I wouldn't
And they
think.
probably gain a little bit better, some flexibility with the way they arrange their parking.
And we end up with a couple of odd shaped pieces there that I wonder
The property to the
on the south.
east, on the south side, we've been in discussions with the adjacent property owner as to, just keeping them up to speed, not really anticipating any conclusion, but, we haven't fully decided, and I think we have been of the opinion that let's see how this project turns out, what it looks like, and we want you only want to have to buy property once, right? So let's wait and figure out what it is we want to do along this corridor, and then if there's a remnant left, we know there's not a remnant sufficient to develop anything on, so it's either expanded green space or you work out something with the neighboring property owner. The property that's immediately south of the further west property on the south side has recently changed hands, and we haven't been in contact with that property owner, but we'll just to keep them aware of what's going on and lay some groundwork for what happens next with that space.
And I think your setbacks are like 40 foot off of that street, off of Kansas, to build anything, so there's not much left there.
Andy, did you want to hit real quick maybe what you're thinking on the south side, or what some options might be in case the commission wants to think about or visualize that as over the next few months?
I think water requirement is something we want to think about as we move forward with that. How do we want to project a new piece of property that the city's putting in based on water requirement? Do we want to make that move with a certain type of grass as something that we're going to be out there mowing? Do we want to just go with a bed type xeriscape landscape where we have drip lines and things like that to reduce water? So those are some of the things that we need to make decisions on. Do we want to look at a spot of buffalo grass or something like that there to start saying, you know, this is good stuff, and it doesn't take near as much water, near as much maintenance, things like that. So those are some things we have to go through and decide pros and cons, what do we want to do there, but it's right there and everybody knows what's going on, and there's a lot of traffic, and so those are some of the things that, because where the Friends and Frogs are at 3rd and 4th Street, we have a little bit of grass there's a lot of plant material around there. And we could bring that concept through there too.
And that's a really big footprint.
Yeah.
It's a big piece of property with, as you said, very little grass. Any other questions on the Kansas Avenue project in general? I know there was a lot of comment when the visual side of things got cleared up, when a couple structures went down. Next thing you know, you're traveling west on a road you've traveled for decades down, and you see a whole lot more.
What's the time frame on this? What are they supposed to?
The construction
Yeah,
itself
construction.
will start up probably in late March. I don't know how many working days, but it's gonna take most of the summer, probably into the fall before we get
Gonna
that
be doing
project.
the water line right away though, and
Yeah, they are working on the water line right
street
now.
project in spring, early
Yeah.
spring.
Thanks.
Good, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else? Andy, had a request for the lights to be on downtown, the Christmas lights in the morning early. And I think if they came on around 5, that would accommodate the people that are come downtown and walk and jog and that kind of thing. And last year, I think we did this too, started maybe for the first time getting them on early in the morning. So
Okay, do we have what time are we thinking we want to start that? Do you know?
I think 5 o'clock would do. Is
All
that-
right, yeah, we'll take care of it.
Well, it looks really,
Yeah.
really gorgeous driving down here tonight. Really nice. I did have someone mention today that they were wondering about the speed limit. It's on the highway that goes to Jetmore. I can't think what the number of the highway is. Yeah, about 35 mile an hour section of it past Jenny Barker Mary intersection. They were wondering if there could chance to adjust that a little bit. They thought the 35 was a little bit slow.
Where's this at again?
156.
What
Jenny
stretch?
Barker.
The intersection from Mary Jenna Barker and the highway going towards Jetmore, that piece in there.
East.
It's 35 from that point
That's
east.
what they said. I didn't go out and look, but I think possibly a part of it is.
Well, based on that location, that would be outside the city limits, and I'm not, offhand, I don't know how far the 35 extends. Now, the speed limit, inside the city limits, we can and do monitor speed. We can identify that section along there and maybe work with the state, because some of it's inside the city limits, some of it's outside in highway, some of it's outside in county, depending on which direction you go. So maybe we can work and just do speed studies now and maybe schedule out into the future as use changes of that intersection.
Traffic Advisory Committee. could
Traffic
take that.
Advisory Committee would take our part, and if the other entities want them to weigh in on the other part, they can take it or leave it. I mean, when they get it, but they'll at least have somebody that's reviewed it, that's used to reviewing some traffic studies. So we'll earmark just in general that intersection in each direction. We'll say that until such time as that's signaled, it needs to be slow to cross from Mary or Jenny Barker, if that's what they're both still called, to the crossroad of the highway needs to have a chance to cross, and so keeping the speeds down allows that until such time as there's signal there.
Thank you.
Well,
Ashley, anything?
No.
Anybody in the audience think of anything? You, ma'am, in the gray coat?
no comment.
Do you have any pointers for the mayor?
Every day. And they're good too.
How about the press?
Yes. Oh, that was
The
good,
press
Chris.
ought to have some questions.
Want me to go round some people up off? Down to the post office.
We all got, I think, an email and a letter about the special assessment process on 2300 block of 9th Street. And so I know I've asked some questions. I think Matt's done a little research, and so we thought we might just give a quick rundown of how that petition process and works, just for general information.
Yeah, I said I'd keep this to 2 minutes, but in Matt Allen time, that's like 5 to 10. So I'll make every attempt to keep this short. And what I'm reading from is input provided to me by City Attorney Randy Grizel as a general description of the 12-6A04 special assessment by way of petition process. There's 3 ways a petition can come, or 3 definitions by which a petition can come, achieving 51% of the affected property. It can be by percentage of ownership, a percentage of property, and or percentage of residents of the liable area. And so any one of those can trigger 51% sufficient to bring a petition. The city can also initiate a petition on its own. At such point in time, a petition is validated and brought forth for city commission consideration. You all would weigh in on a variety of factors. In 12-6A04 outlines them, and you get to weigh in on whether or not you believe the improvements as shown or as requested, the boundaries of the district as requested, the cost share of the district within the district as suggested, which could include participation by the city, not just the properties on which special assessments are being levied. Whether or not you think those elements are there and you think it's worthwhile to move forward. So there is an opportunity at which you decide on the petition. The statute doesn't provide for a hearing. The statute doesn't even, got some differing opinions on whether or not the commission has to approve the ability for someone to use the petition process, which is, recently you all took that action at our own request, that hey, somebody's interested in doing this, do you authorize them pursuing it? Yes. Well, they could have pursued it on their own and brought it to you and said we can certify that there's 51% or more based on any of these definitions of 51%, and you need to consider it. And you would then vote. At that point in time, it takes a majority vote of the elected body. So regardless of how many are present at the meeting, 3 people have to vote, 3 city commissioners have to vote to approve it. If those not in the majority that brought the petition say there was somebody opposed to the process, they do have the ability to seek remedy through the courts, seek an injunction. That's probably going to deal a lot with whether or not due process was provided, and really the due process hurdle in this is pretty easy to get over. Not a lot of notice requirement, not a lot of hearing requirement, majority vote, and boom, you move forward. Yeah, way past 2 minutes. If you have questions on this, I know there's one of these on, I think it's 9th Street. Is that right? You on 2300 block 9th Street. That at some point in time has a decision point that it could come forward. This city commission has never heard any issue where they haven't invited folks that have an opinion on the matter to weigh in prior to you voting. So I expect everybody will be afforded that opportunity again, just like every other issue. And you all have the ability to make that call based on whatever factors you want to take in. Again, provided it's just not arbitrary or capricious. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. Well, if nobody has anything else,
I did drive by the cemetery the other evening, and the display at the columbarium was all lit up, and it was looked really nice. I mean,
I'll have to drive up there.
really neat display in the evening and how it's portrayed and lit up. So another good project, done really well. And then this weekend we've got the parade coming up, the holiday parade at 6 o'clock.
Is that this weekend or the
Yeah.
10th?
This,
This
it's
weekend.
okay.
This weekend,
Sunday.
Sunday
Sunday.
at 6.
Starts at the depot.
Starts at the That's
At the
correct.
depot.
But you gotta, come down Sixth Street, I think. So they want you to line up. It's on that.
Did you
No,
send
no.
me
It's on that map.
the email that I sent you today? Have all
Yeah.
that information?
Yeah.
Well, if there's nothing else, we're done for the evening, I guess. Thanks, everybody, for coming and helping out.